This is our 17th lecture, and this lecture is dedicated to entire international relation topics which came in June, July and August. And also this is our last lecture. So let us start today. Our first topic is Daukandi Sonamura Inland Waterway. This waterway is very important and very special. This is not only about India. This Daukandi place is in Bangladesh and Sonamura is in Tripura. So it is kind of international inland waterway. So can you see this place? If you could just zoom in, you could see this place Daukandi, and this place is Sonamura. So this is your Tripura, this is Bangladesh. This Sonamura is in Tripura and this Daukandi is in Bangladesh. Between these places a river flows which is known as Gomti or Gumti. On this river we have a started transport, that is the Daukandi Sonamura inland waterway. But this project is part of a bigger project. That project you need to know. That project is Protocol for Inland Water Trade and Transit, PIWTT. Protocol for Inland Water Trade. Inland Water Trade and Transit, this is about international trade and transport. It was signed between India and Bangladesh during the Indira Gandhi times only, 1972. But recently what we have done is that in later years we have amended it and included more waterways. The main focus is connecting Bangladesh with the northeastern region of India and enhancing the bilateral trade, because if you travel from this portion of India you will have to go to Chicken Neck, then here, and then you have to go to Assam. From Bengal you have to go to Assam, and then you have to go to southward to the Tripura. This is a very long route. But if you want to transport something from Kolkata to your Tripura, if you go by Bangladesh, this will be very easy. So in between we can connect many places. In that one, only one project is Daukandi Sonamura, that is Bangladesh Tripura connectivity. So this 1972 protocol was further expanded or extended by a second amendment after some decades. And recently what has happened is that we have included this river transport project. We have increased from 8 to 10 projects. So many projects are going along, but in this month, in this June-July month, this project has started. So that was in news. Many additional routes and ports of call is also created. What is port of call? Port of call is simply your intermediate stop for a ship. Recently one more news came. From your Kolkata port you transported some shipment to Chatgaon, or you can call it now Chattogram port, and from that it went to Tripura. So all of these connectivities are happening in a different way, and one project is PIWTT, Protocol for Inland Water Trade and Transit, created in 1972. In that this Daukandi Sonamura is in news. So this is all about this. Second topic is coming from Bhutan. You know, Bhutan is quite a lot dependent on Indian economy. So Bhutan has to create many hydroelectric projects. Those hydroelectric projects can be used for India also for the electricity, but mainly are focusing on Bhutan. So for the development of Bhutan, the hydroelectricity development of Bhutan, we have already done a lot of things. We have already created many hydroelectric power projects, but recently this Kholongchu joint venture hydroelectric project is in news. The agreement for this is 600 megawatt Kholongchu joint venture. I cannot show the map of this because Bhutan is already a very small country, and total we are going to name almost 8 projects, so we cannot show on the map. So just remember that Kholongchu hydroelectric project is joint venture between India and Bhutan. On one side you have Royal Government of Bhutan, and one side is Kholongchu Hydro Energy Limited. So why one side is Royal Government of Bhutan and one side is Kholongchu Hydro Energy Project? So but this Kholongchu Hydro Energy Project, Hydro Energy Limited, this is created by one Indian company and one Bhutanese company. One side Drak Green Power Corporation, this is of Bhutan, and then you have SJVNL, Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam Limited, SJVNL India. Together they have created this joint venture company known as Kholongchu Hydro Energy Limited, and Kholongchu Hydro Energy Limited has signed agreement with Bhutanese Royal Government of Bhutan, and it was signed on 29 June only. So this is in news. Why this is named as Kholongchu? Because this is situated on Kholongchu River, and Kholongchu River flows in eastern Bhutan in a district named as Tashi Yangtze. Project is supposed to be completed in the second half of 2025. A lot of time to go. Is this the first hydroelectricity project created between India and Bhutan? No. In August 2019 only, Honorable Prime Minister of India and Bhutan, they inaugurated this project named is Mangdechu Hydroelectric Project. Other projects already in operation are Chukha Hydroelectric Project. You have to remember the names: Chukha, Kurichu, Tala, and Mangdechu. So these four, Chukha, Kurichu, Tala, and Mangdechu, are already operational. Now you have this agreement for Kholongchu, and after that also you have three joint ventures to be created, that is Bunakha, Wangchu, and Chamkharchu. Next news is also coming from Bhutan, but this is about Bhutan-China border dispute. See, previously also Bhutan and China had border dispute, but it was located in three regions only. One was very famous Doklam Plateau. Here is the Doklam Plateau on the eastern side of the Bhutan, near the tri-junction of India, Bhutan and China. Second was Jakarlang. Jakarlang is the North Bhutan. And after that, in the east side, you have Pasamlang. So Pasamlang is also in North Bhutan. These three were already disputed areas between China and Bhutan: Doklam, Jakarlang, and Pasamlang. But a new area has come into dispute now. In this area, you can see here very well, there is one Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary in Bhutan. Now, what had happened is that there was one conference going on between 2 to 3 June 2020. This was Global Environment Facility Conference, initiated by UNDP. So in that conference, there was some funding proposal for this Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary in Bhutan. But China protested. China said that no, Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary cannot be funded as a part of Bhutan because this belongs to China. So that is the border dispute between Bhutan and China regarding Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary area. So wildlife sanctuary is in which area of Bhutan? You can see eastern area. Almost it is about Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, that is why it is in conflict. China claims Arunachal Pradesh also. The district is Tarshigang district. So you have to remember Tarshigang and you have to remember Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary. This is in Bhutan. So now 4 border dispute area between China and Bhutan. Next topic is regarding China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So this is the map of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. You should just remember it starts from Kashgar in Xinjiang area, Kashgar in the Uyghur Muslim area, Xinjiang area, Kashgar in China, and then it goes to our Kashmir's Gilgit-Baltistan area which Pakistan has occupied. Then it goes to Pakistan occupied Kashmir also. Then it goes southward and cutting through the whole nation, it goes to Gwadar port in Sindh area. That is very near to your Chabahar port in Iran area. So this is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, part of a big project that is One Belt, One Road. Now you know in this area, Jhelum River from India enters into Pakistan. Before entering into Pakistan, only the Pakistan occupied Kashmir area only, China is creating some projects on the river. This is not the first project. Already China is handling some water hydroelectricity project on Jhelum River in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So India is protesting that this territory belongs to India. And now first you created China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Now you are creating hydroelectricity project without the approval from India. So you have to remember about that. Pakistan and China have signed an agreement of this is 700 megawatt. They are calling it Azad Pattan because they call it Azad Kashmir, right? The Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So they have named it Azad Pattan. So you will remember this is Hydel power project on the Jhelum River, and the district that Pakistan occupied Kashmir district is Sudnoti district. Azad Pattan project is one of 5 hydroelectric projects scheme on Jhelum. So Pakistan has 5 hydro project over Jhelum. Out of that, Azad Pattan is one, and the other 4 are Mahal, Kohla, Chakoti Hatian and Karot. Out of these other 4 also, Kohala and Karot are already being developed under the CPEC. So overall, Pakistan has 5 hydroelectricity project over this Jhelum River. In that, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has Azad Pattan, Kohala and Karot, where China is in collaboration with Pakistan for the development of this hydroelectricity project without the approval of India. Now this is about Afghanistan. Recently, United Nations Secretariat had held the meeting of 6+2+1 group. This is about Afghanistan. Afghanistan is in center. Okay, so this will be known as 1. What are the other 6 and 2 countries? The very powerful countries Russia and US will be known as 2. So that became 1 plus 2. Now what are the other 6 countries? Other 6 countries are China, Iran, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. So this whole area, China, Iran, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan should be here, right? Anyway, Uzbekistan, and then you have US and Russia. Then you have Afghanistan. So total 9 countries, 6 plus 2 plus 1. This is the format of discussion. Can you see India is not a part of this 6 plus 2 plus 1 because India has been not very comfortable with China and Pakistan being there. So India hasn't joined. So when this secretariat, UN secretariat held this meeting, India was obviously very much absent. So India was absent. That is why it is in news. So you should know about the 6 plus 2 group on Afghanistan. This is also known as 6 plus 2 plus 1 group also. When we talk about Afghanistan, we also have to know about Afghanistan-Pakistan Transit Trade Agreement. When India and Pakistan were recently in conflict, so Pakistan has suspended the Indian trade through its border with Afghanistan. So that why is what it was in news. But recently Pakistan, you should not see this Monday, recently Pakistan announced that they will resume Afghanistan exports to India. Afghanistan exports many things to India, right? Dry fruits and everything. So Afghanistan will be able to export its objects to India, products, not shipment. So products to India, Afghanistan will be able to export because Pakistan has allowed that those trade can happen with the Wagah border crossing. If you see the map, this actually Afghanistan-Pakistan Transit Trade Agreement is there. This is a big thing. Afghanistan-Pakistan Transit Trade Agreement. That means Pakistan will be allowing the transit to Afghanistan. This bilateral trade agreement came in 2010 only between Pakistan and Afghanistan and deals with what? Facilitation of movement of goods amongst the two countries. You could see the truck and everything. So this is such a net, okay, such a net between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But what had happened that there was also, this map is actually created by some other organization. So India is shown like this. So I have drawn our own territory, big and white. So this thing actually created between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and Pakistan demanded that you also allow us access to this Central Asian countries to Afghanistan. But Afghanistan was not allowing. So this was always in conflict. Pakistan also used its power and said that you cannot trade with Wagah border in India through our territory. But now Pakistan has allowed the resumption of this export to India through Wagah border crossing. So that is why your Afghanistan-Pakistan Transit Trade Agreement is in news. Now this is a very small news. United States India Business Council is there, which is known as abbreviated form USIBC. In 2020, it was celebrating its 45th anniversary. United States India Business Council USIBC was celebrating its 45th anniversary. That was named as India Ideas Summit, and the theme was building a better future. This was done virtually. So the aim of the council is that they are trying to create an inclusive bilateral trade environment between India and United States by serving as the voice for industry, linking government to government talks, linking government businesses, and supporting long-term commercial partnership that will nurture the spirit of all those things, entrepreneurship, jobs, and contribute to global economy by contributing between India and US. So you have to remember what? You have to remember US India Business Council, and you have to remember that it was its 45th anniversary, and you have to remember it was known as India Ideas Summit. It was done virtually, and the theme was building a better future. This topic is coming from United States. In United States, you had the great Martin Luther King, who fought for civil rights movement. And then in India, you have India's freedom struggle man, Mahatma Gandhi, respected Mahatma Gandhi. So what if we merge the ideology that US students will learn about Gandhiji and Indian students will learn about US civil rights movement leader Martin Luther King? So for that, Gandhi King, a scholarly exchange initiative bill has been brought in United States. The main theme is to establish annual student exchange between US and India. And this bill is authored by American civil rights leader and lawmaker. You don't need to remember the name, but he initiated the bill. He authored the bill. Now the bill has come in the United States legislature. C. The bill will seek to establish the act will seek to establish an exchange program between India and US to study the work and legacies of Mahatma Gandhi and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. And it actually passed an important committee in the US House of Representatives. So House of Representatives had an important committee, and the bill has passed that. Bill is co-sponsored by Indian American congressman from California. Actually, she had co-sponsored the bill, Amy Bera. She or he, I don't know, sorry for that, but not needed. And annual scholarship will be provided. Student exchange will happen between India and America, and legacies will be studied, and they will visit the historic sites. Why this is coming a lot of times. Okay, they will visit historic sites in India and US relevant to India's freedom struggle and US civil rights movement. Also, not only this, the bill also seeks to establish the Gandhi King Global Academy, and that Gandhi King Global Academy will work as a conflict resolution initiative, and the principle will be non-violence, because both of these leaders were for non-violence. It also proposes the establishment of United States India Gandhi King Development Foundation, and that will be set up by the US Agency for International Development, very famous agency, USAID, US Agency for International Development. That US Agency for International Development will establish the United States India Gandhi King Development Foundation. And this will be tasked with administering grants to NGOs that work in health, pollution and climate change, education and empowerment of women through 30 million per year for 5 years till 2025. Now some places in news. The first place we are going to see is Natanz area in Iran. Iran has many nuclear areas, nuclear development areas, but out of that the most important is Natanz area. Iran's main nuclear facility is located here. What had happened is that a series of fires and explosions happened in this Natanz area, Natanz nuclear facility of Iran, and the region was unexplained. Nobody knew how this happened. Now the mapping is very important. If you see the map of Iran, this is the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility in the center of it. Fire at underground Natanz nuclear enrichment facility happened, and nobody knew why. Now you should do the mapping of Iran. So this area is Bandar Abbas, you can see in this image, this area is Bandar Abbas, a Strait of Hormuz is there, right? If you see the border of Iran, so this is the seaward side, fine. But here you have Iraq, then you have Turkey, then you have Armenia, then you have Azerbaijan. This is a small area here, if you could see, that is part of Azerbaijan. Then you have Caspian Sea, here you had Persian Gulf, here you have Caspian Sea, then Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Here you have the Gwadar port, and here you have the in Iran Chabahar port created by India. Your shipment from Chabahar will go to Afghanistan, okay, and Afghanistan they have the road built, and India is planning that India will be able to export its goods from Afghanistan to Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and then other Central Asian countries and Russia also. Second place is in news is Beirut. Beirut was in news because Beirut the blast happened, and the region, the chemical you have to remember, it happened on August 4, 2020. This happened because of large amount of ammonium nitrate that was stored at the port city of Beirut. So Beirut is the capital of Lebanon. So you have to remember the map of Lebanon now. See, this is the map of Lebanon, right? And Lebanon has a very special thing. This is the smallest recognized sovereign state on the mainland Asian continent. On the mainland Asian continent, Lebanon is the smallest recognized sovereign state. You have to remember the capital is Beirut, and the Beirut port city only because of the storing of ammonium nitrate, a blast happened and many people died. Now Beirut is located on the Mediterranean coast at the foot of Lebanon mountains. So here you have Lebanon mountains. See, this is the Beirut. Now see the mapping. Israel has a border with Lebanon. Okay, Israel is also opening on the Mediterranean Sea. Lebanon is opening on the Mediterranean Sea, a huge coast I think large part of the country's border is in the Mediterranean Sea only. Then have here starts on the east side. This is Syria, capital is Damascus. East side of the Lebanon is Syria, and the north side also of the Lebanon is Syria. So Lebanon is surrounded by Israel and Syria only, then Mediterranean Sea. In Mediterranean Sea, in front of Lebanon, you have Cyprus, an island country. This is all about Beirut, Lebanon, and ammonium nitrate thing. Now one more place in news in Nagorno-Karabakh place. If you see the map, this is Azerbaijan, right? And this is Armenia. Now see this place. This small place is known as Nagorno-Karabakh. If you see the map, you will just realize that this is in Azerbaijan, not a problem. And not a problem to the international community also, because the international community, everything, Nagorno-Karabakh is recognized as part of Azerbaijan. But the problem is that this place had a movement long back, and that movement resulted in Armenian people occupying this area. So this area actually belongs to Azerbaijan, but Azerbaijan is not able to administer it. Nagorno-Karabakh is a disputed territory, internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but mostly governed by the Republic of Artsakh. Republic of Artsakh is formerly named Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. And this is a de facto independent state. They have declared independence out of Azerbaijan. Why? Because Armenian ethnic majority is there, and they have established this independent state, but this state is not recognized internationally. It is recognized as part of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has not exercised political authority over the region since the advent of Karabakh movement. Karabakh movement resulted in this area declaring independence, that started in 1988. From 1988, Azerbaijan is saying that give us our territory, Armenian people, and they are not giving. Since the end of Nagorno-Karabakh war, the war started in 1988 and ended in 1994. Representatives of the government of Armenia and Azerbaijan have been holding peace talks. Armenia is saying that give it to us, and Azerbaijan is saying that give it to us. It lies in the South Caucasus region, in the area between Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So that is all about this Nagorno-Karabakh region. Now let us go to East China Sea. And in East China Sea, go to Japan. Here is your Japan. So below Japan, you have Ryukyu Islands. Ryukyu Islands is important, but one more location is important, which is a disputed island territory. And can you see these dots? This is Senkaku Islands. Islands, there are various, this is an archipelago actually. There are various islands in this Senkaku. But can you see? Senkaku is a Japanese name. Diaoyu is a People's Republic of China name. Then Taioyu Tai, this is Taiwanese name. So this is the problem. This area is disputed by China, Japan, and Taiwan. All of these claim this. So who is administering this area? Japan is administering this area after the World War, and before the World War also Japan was administering it. But in the 14th century and 15th century, China was having this area. And you know the claim of China, they say that when the earth was created, so this area was being administered by China, so the area belongs to them. So this is the problem. Senkaku Islands are a group of uninhabited, nobody lives here, okay? But the problem is that below that Senkaku Island, you have got the fossil fuel reserves. So that is why it is more in conflict. Also, they can create a military base. Uninhabited island in East China Sea. You have to remember this is in East China Sea. This is not about South China Sea. They are located on the east of China, right? East of China. Northeast of Taiwan. Yes, Taiwan northeast. And southwestern of Ryukyu Island. Fine. So this area is being administered by Japan. What had happened is that China claims that discovery was done by and ownership was taken by the China of this islands in 14th century, and Japan had got the ownership of this island in 1895. But then what happened, that Japan surrendered it to US in the World War II, because Japan lost the World War. Now US state administered the island as part of the United States Civil Administration of the Ryukyu Island. So they were administering the Ryukyu Island. They also administered this Senkaku Island from World War end, that is 1945 to 1972. and after that they returned it to Japanese control. Okay, there was one Okinawa reversion agreement. In that, United States gave back these Senkaku Islands to Japan in 1972, and now the conflict came among the China, Taiwan, and Japan. China is saying that 14th century this island we had discovered, we had seen it first, just like child say, na, we had seen the object, so object belongs to us. So China is saying the same thing. The discovery of a potential undersea oil reserves in 1968 in the area was a catalyst for further interest in the disputed island. This is the problem. Let's go to Japan again, but talk about a different islands. Islands again, Amami Islands. Amami Islands again, this is island, so this is an archipelago. This is present in overall there is island Satsunan Islands, and this is part of the Ryukyu Islands. So just now I had explained you about the Ryukyu Islands. Let's go back to that map also. You have Ryukyu Island, right? In Ryukyu Island archipelago only you have this Amami Islands also. You remember that. Now we are seeing the overall map of Ryukyu Island, okay? In that Ryukyu Island we have Amami Island. This area is Amami Islands, okay? In the Ryukyu Island area chain we have Amami Islands. This area, the Amami Island, is news because there is a ship discovered by Japan below the waters. So ancient kind of ship, or maybe World War belonging ship. So that is why it came in news. But through this news, I actually want you to explain the Japanese map. Japan has 4 main islands. The northern one is Hokkaido, okay? Then middle one is Honshu. Then south one is Shikoku. And then also below that you have Kyushu. Will you remember that? Hokkaido, Honshu, we will number this, okay? Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. So, in the previous map, we had seen one thing. Okay, this thing. This is your Kyushu. And southward to the side of the Kyushu, you have Ryukyu Islands, and then you have Senkaku Islands also. So, if you talk about the Amami Island, which is in northern side of our Ryukyu Island, that will be very near to Kyushu Island, which is written here, southwest of Kyushu, because here you have in the upper section you have Kyushu, and here you have Amami Island, Ryukyu Island, everything. This area is not disputed, properly belongs to Japan only. One more thing I wanted to just make you remember, in Japan you had Hokkaido. Hokkaido is a very beautiful place that you should know. And then you have this Honshu, right, the middle island, the biggest one. In that only, Honshu only, you have Sendai. Do you remember the Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction? Tokyo is also located on the Honshu. Yokohama is also located on Honshu. Nagoya is also located on Honshu, or Nagoya might be located on Shikoku, we will check it. Anyway, other places are Nagoya, Osaka, Kyoto. Every place is important, remember now? The Hiroshima is on this place, Hiroshima. And last one, on the Kyushu, you have Nagasaki. So this is the mapping of Japan. Now we have a news that North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement among United States, then Mexico, this is Canada, Canada, United States, America, and then Mexico. These 3 had North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. It was created in 1994. But Trump objected to many of its negotiations, and then finally, 2018, United States, Mexico, and Canada renegotiated the entire agreement. Everything was overhauled. North American Free Trade Agreement was overhauled, and now the deal is known as United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement. United States, US, Mexico, Canada Agreement. So Mexico is a little insignificant country, so they have got only 1 letter for Mexico. For US they have got 2 letters, and for Canada they have got 2 letters. Now this is known as USMCA. This is USMCA. So you just have to remember that NAFTA is now renegotiated and the new name is USMCA. Now what is Toman? You know, Iran has many sanctions by the United States and some other countries also. So the currency's value was going down. So Iran in July 2019 Iranian government decided, they approved a bill that they will change this Toman was already a currency type in Iran, but this was not the national currency. Now this is being upgraded and it will become the national currency from the Riyal. Previously Iran had the national currency Riyal, now it will be Toman. Okay, one Toman will equal 10,000 Riyals, and that process which will reportedly cost 160 million expenditure, but still the inflation triggered by the US sanction was so much that they have gone for the new currency, and this is in news, Toman, and it was approved by the Iranian parliament already in May 2020, and the bill initiated in 2019, now approved by the parliament, and this changeover is so large, 160 million cost and time taking phase, that it will take 2 years, and then you have to remember that the Iran's currency will be Toman only. Now you need to know about one grouping, that is Cairns Group. This is a coalition of 19 agriculture exporting nations. They lobby for agriculture trade liberalization. They say to India that we are providing you milk, please let us, we export you the milk, and India says that no, our agriculture will be in precarious situation, and that livestock will be in precarious situation if we allow the milk import, a lot of it actually. So they do the lobbying together for liberalization of agricultural trade, because these countries are very good in trade. In fact, these 19 agriculture exporting countries make 25% of the world's agricultural export. But you have to remember one thing, that India is not a member. Can you see the map? So these are the overall 19 countries. You also have to remember one thing, Pakistan is a member. Pakistan is a member of Cairns Group, and this Cairns Group was formed in 1986 in Cairns. Cairns is in Australia, so this is known as Cairns Group. So this is how our lecture ends. We have almost seen every important topics from June, July, August. Previously also March, April, May. Now it is desired that you also look for other handouts and everything, and remaining topics, if you see anything important and if you need the revision, please do that also, because we need to be prepared for the exam. Also, if there is something extra, I will be updating in the Google Drive. Check it till 25th or 26th, not a problem. And any PPT which is left, because I think I have updated till 12th class. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. These 5 classes PPT will be updated in the folder. The link is below in the description. And hope to see you after prelims also. We might try to continue this for your goodness, and that's all. Thank you. Take care, and all the best for your examination. All the best. Please do well and relax. Okay, please don't take extra load. Everything whatever you have studied is more than enough. You just need to retain with and that will be retained only with the confidence and relaxation. And it is not desired that you take a lot of mocks now. The revision will be very much required and necessary. And also, if the mock score is giving you anxiety, just you can solve the question by question and do the revision and not go for the full length mock. So that's all. Thank you so much. All the best.